Conclave 2018. As we start once again, I'd like to apologize for the rather obvious delay, but also like to remind you that while you're in the hall, the statutory requirements, please ensure mobiles, connected devices are on silent. Do wear your delegate badges at all times. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of the staff. And while you're in the hall, please ensure that you're seated. If you need to take a call or do some networking, we'd request you do that in the foyer area. Before we start, I'd also like to remind you that in case you do have to make travel arrangements with the hotel for an airport drop, you need to contact the hotel at least 5 hours before your scheduled time of departure so that you can make it to the hotel in time, make it to the airport in time, and the hotel can make the appropriate arrangements. I do hope you made your checkout arrangements in case you had to do that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start the second day of this Global Pulses Conclave. I'm afraid we're slightly behind time, so I do apologize in advance. I'm going to be a little ruthless today as far as timing is concerned. So my apologies to all speakers, presenters, and delegates. The first panel today, Kabuli Chickpeas, will be moderated by the Managing Director of Rajat Agro Commodities. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rajat Sarda.
Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of IPGA. We're going to begin with the Kabuli Chickpeas panel discussion now. Can I have my team, my panelists on the stage, please? May I please welcome Mr. Jose Maria Lazara from Argentina, Mr. Amar Savla from USA, and Mr. Kivanch Kolukisa from Turkey. We're missing one of our panelists, Mr. Albert Garcia, who could not make it to the conclave because of some visa issues. But he has sent me his views, and I'm going to speak on his behalf. So let us begin with the presentation first. Can I have the presentation? I'm going to briefly take you through the Indian market scenario and the past production figures and consumption and the price patterns that we've seen over the last few years, and what has happened in the chickpeas market, and how is the upcoming crop, and how the market's going to behave. We'll have the panelists sitting here and we'll discuss, and let's see what we get out of this panel. So we're primarily talking about Kabuli chickpeas here, one of the truly global pulse, grown in a lot of countries, and there are primarily two types of Kabuli chickpeas, divided on the basis of the seed type or the color of seed or the origin. One is the Blanca Sinaloa type, primarily belonging to Mexico, or popularly known as dollar chana here in India. The second is the Spaniola type, or the Turkish Kabuli, or in India it is commonly known as Cockatoo. Let us see at the major producing countries of Kabuli chickpeas in the world. Argentina produces majorly Spaniola types. There are 3 different varieties. Many of you would have experienced receiving different qualities, different seed types while you have been importing stuff from Argentina. Canada, again, there are several qualities, but all the variations are of Spaniola type with seeds evolved over a period of time. India, which is the largest producer of Kabuli chickpeas in the world. We have several varieties. One is the Blanca Sinaloa type, or the dollar gram, in Madhya Pradesh, grown in Madhya Pradesh, parts of Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh. The size varies from 7 mm to 12 millimeters, and the other one is Spaniola type or the Cockatoo variety, which is grown in, again, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh. The size varies from 5 mm to 8.5 millimeters. Mexico is the originator and the primary supplier of Blanca Sinaloa type chickpeas or dollar chana, which is commonly known in India. Russia again is considered to be growing Kabuli chickpeas, but most of the Kabuli chickpeas that comes out of Russia is substituted in India for Desi chickpeas, and it is Spaniola round type chickpeas. European Union does grows small quantities produced in Spain and Italy, and most of it is consumed locally. Turkey grows Spaniola type 6 to 9 millimeter sizes, mostly goes into local consumption, and at times when they have good crop, they also try their hands at export. USA, we have several seed varieties, and the most popular varieties or the most highest grade quality is restricted to a limited few suppliers who give the seeds to the farmers, get it, buy the production back, and that's how the things work out there. We're going to briefly look at the past production and consumption figures of the Indian Kabuli chickpeas. Let me remind you that we are primarily talking about the dollar chana here, or the Blanca Sinaloa type, or the large caliber chickpeas here. If we look at the entire slide, we've seen that leave apart 2016, and the average production of Indian Kabuli chickpeas is around 500 and 550,000 metric tons on a yearly basis. In 2012, the production was 500,000 tons. The exports were around 250,000 tons. Balance 200,000 tons went for domestic consumption and seeding, and the carryover to 2013 was 50,000 tons. In 2012, India witnessed very high prices for chickpeas. Starting in the month of April till the month of October, the prices remained in the range of $1,700 to $1,800. As a result of which, we see that the 2013 production has suddenly jumped by 200,000 tons to 700,000 tons. That year, the prices dropped, almost had a free fall, and the prices dropped to $1,000 levels. Maybe went below that, I'm not sure. But the export was certainly increased with the decrease in price. We're going to come up and I'm going to bring this point later during the presentation, that with the falling prices, we've seen a great increase in the exports. Domestic and seeding also was there, but I believe most of it went for domestic consumption rather than seeding, because seeding certainly decreased, as 2014 crop was limited to 500,000 tons, and along with the carryover of 100,000 tons, we had a total inventory of about 600,000 tons. Export was again stagnant at normal levels, 250,000 tons, and domestic and seeding was also the same, and we again had a carryover of around 100,000 tons. What we are seeing here is that if India comes up with a crop of around 500 to 550,000 tons, we normally end up with almost negligible carryovers. Because if we come up with a crop of around 500 to 550,000 tons, and the prices are well within range of around $1,200, $1,300, we've seen good export as well as domestic demand coming in from everywhere. Moving on to 2015, we again had less than average crop of around 450,000 tons. Normal export and domestic seeding figures with a negligible carryover. This was a turning point in time, and for continuous 3 years, farmers could not receive good returns on their cargo, on the goods that they produced, and they were trying to shift production. So they shifted to either lentils or desi chickpeas or wheat, And that's what resulted in a disastrous production figure coming in 2016. With almost no carryover and a meager crop of 225,000 tons, and with less than 100,000 ton crop in Mexico, all fueled up for what we've seen as the highest price increase in the history of Kabuli chickpeas. The prices, we started the season with a price of around $100,000 a ton FOB levels. And within 2 to 3 months, the prices went up till $1,600, $1,700, and by the end of the season, we've seen a record price of around $2,200. And again, no carryover. And let's see what 2017 looked like. Again, with negligible carryover, and the production figure remained stagnant at 255,000 tons. One was primarily because there was shortage of seeds. Farmers couldn't find seeds to plant. And the second thing was that whatever seed was available was already so high priced that farmer did not want to risk buying seeds at high prices and then selling their stuff at low prices, which resulted in a very small increase in production, which again could not suffice the international demand, and we again saw the prices coming down to 1,400, 1,300 levels, and then again bouncing back to 2,200 levels. We almost started this year as well with negligible carryovers, and but the farmer this year was smart enough, and he thought that I should not make the mistakes I made last year, and most of the farmers, they kept goods for seeding with them, and this is the reason we are seeing we're seeing a very good crop this year in 2018. Now, as everyone says that good presentation is not complete without charts and graphs to confuse the audience, so let's make things a little technical. I've tried to put one inside in the presentation. Tried to make an effort to put the production figures in terms of 100,000 metric tons and the price in terms of dollars for FOB levels. We can clearly see I've plotted this graph starting 2013, where we saw a historical production of 700,000 tons. The prices came down to as low as $100,000. And thereafter, we have seen a steady decline in production of chickpeas, and the prices have gradually went up, with the highest increase coming in 2016, and thereafter the peak prices have remained the same in 2017 as well. Now let us discuss the key factors which are affecting the production this year. Doubled in 2016 from $1,000 levels to $2,000 levels, as I've already mentioned. And in 2017 also it dropped to $1,400, but again bounced back to above $2,000 levels. So the high prices of chickpeas has been the biggest motivating factor for increase in the sowing of Kabuli chickpeas and desi chickpeas both, because the desi chickpeas also farmers have seen very good returns in last 2 years. As per the government statistics, this year the wheat acreage in MP has dropped by 10%. And most of it is substituted by either desi chickpeas or the Kabuli chickpeas. So that's why we are seeing a very good upcoming 2018 crop for desi chickpeas as well as the Kabuli chickpeas. Now many farmers have, the third point is that the Nimar region, which is the southwestern MP region, which is, MP is the main region where these Kabuli chickpeas are grown. So the southwestern MP, the acreage under plantation has continued to increase for a 4th or 5th year in a row. The farmers are liking this product. They're getting very good returns on Kabuli chickpeas, and they are increasing the production day by day, substituting different other commodities. The Malwa region, which was primarily the chickpeas region for last 10, 12 years, had seen a decrease in 2017 and 16 in production. Because the Malwa farmers were not getting very good returns on the chickpeas, so they decided to switch to other pulses like desi chickpeas and wheat. So cultivation in Malwa this year has gone up. On the contrary, as compared to the last 2 years, this year we have seen a very good sowing of Kabuli chickpeas in the Malwa region, which is the western MP. The weather overall had been really very supportive. Of late we have heard news of rains and hailstorms in a lot of areas in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan and Maharashtra. But leave apart one area which is growing Kabulis, most of the Kabuli crop is almost untouched by these rains and hailstorms. And if rains anywhere has occurred in the Kabuli chickpeas growing area, it's only going to be beneficial in the long run. Now this year the crop was sown a bit earlier because we haven't seen a very good plantation in Kharif. So quite a few fields were still empty because farmers did not plant a lot of soybeans in the Kharif season. So they had the opportunity of putting an early chickpeas crop, which they did also, and that's why we are seeing very good arrivals in the region, even 15-20 days earlier as compared to last 2-3 years. Sowing in other regions which are small but still constitute some amount of production of chickpeas, sowing in Maharashtra and Andhra Pradesh is also increased after seeing a setback for last 2 years. So overall, all the growing areas are seeing an increase in sowing, and hopefully we also see the same increase in production as well. This is the what all of us are here for, to look at the $1 million question. Everybody wants to know what is going to be the size of 2018 crop. As you all know, there is no scientific data available, and to know the exact acreage planted for Kabuli chickpeas. We do have some data available for knowing the overall plantation of chickpeas in the region, but that constitutes both desis as well as Kabulis. No certain figures are available to know the plantation area of Kabuli chickpeas. So we can all just go around to the trade and the people related to this and discuss things with them and understand how much they think the production and the sowing is going to increase this year. After talking to a lot of people related to trade at various levels, at the farm levels, at the mandi levels, at the export levels, and at the processing level, I come out with a figure which is around 500 to 550,000 tons. This is what I think we should be getting on a bare minimum side. This is what Indian crop looks like. Now, coming on to the prices, let us see what is going to affect what factors are going to command over the fluctuation of prices in the coming days. Let us see at the bullish factors first. As we all want to make money by investing in chickpeas, let us see what are the factors which are going to drive the prices up. Entire world pipeline is empty. Most of us know that the large caliber chickpeas are almost finished at all the destinations, all the consuming countries, and they'll definitely have to buy. So that is one of the first and foremost primary reasons that we are receiving demands from countries for a very early shipment, because none of them are left with chickpeas, and to put it on their shelves, to put it in the market, they need an early shipment, and they need it fast. Early Ramadan, like all the years, Ramadan shifts back early. This year it is starting from May 15th, and we all know that Ramadan is known to kick the demand for chickpeas, because a lot of countries celebrating Ramadans, they tend to consume a lot of chickpeas during this region. I don't know if it could be true this year because the Ramadans are in summers and how it is going to affect the consumption of chickpeas. But still, it's a major factor which cannot be overlooked, and it contributes to a lot of demand which comes in from all the Arab countries. Okay, Mexican crop is as usual delayed. You know, Mexicans are really always late. So they plant it late and they harvest it late, and therefore they cannot ship in February or first half March. And very less quantity can be shipped in second half March. So most of the destinations, also the transit time from Mexico to most of the consuming countries is approximately a month to 60 days in some cases. So all these consuming countries are going to get the Mexican products very late. And the demand and the hunger for chickpeas is right now. So they'll have to turn back to India, which is going to keep the prices on a tighter note here. The domestic pipeline is completely empty. Looking at the falling pulses market in the months of, starting from the months of August till December, most of the local traders and wholesalers and retailers have kept their pulses stocks to a minimum level, which is why till now we've seen arrivals of around 30,000 metric tons of chickpeas, new crop, 2018 crop chickpeas. Till day before yesterday, the arrivals in the region have totaled to around 30,000 metric tons. And most of this chickpeas have catered to the domestic demand. A very less cargo is exported. More than 50% of this cargo is gone into the domestic demand. Import definitely out of question because government of India has been trying to protect its farmers and trying to put in all the entry barriers for imported pulses. 40% duty will significantly reduce the imports of pulses into India. Again, Kabuli chickpeas will definitely be affected, and therefore India will have to suffice its demand by its own production. Stockists, they have made decent money over last couple of years in Kabuli chickpeas, and they are waiting to take positions. They are just waiting to find the safe levels to enter into the market so that they may not end up making losses. Another thing is Turkey. This year, I think they've started the duty a month earlier. Okay, and the duty, import duty, is going to start from 1st of June this year. So they definitely will have to buy and buy from India. They can buy from India till first half May because India has very less transit time, and they can India can ship them cargo in first half May, and they'll still be able to save the duty on those chickpeas that they're importing. USA and Canada, as I understand, are already sold out. Only Argentina has some cargo, and that too 9 mm and below sizes are available. So for large caliber, world will have to look forward to India and Mexico. And if you want any immediate chickpeas demands, you'll only have to turn back to India. Mexico is not an option right now. Now, I'm told to be a moderator, and being a moderator, I have to keep the discussions as well as the panel on a moderate level. So if I'm showing you the reasons for increase in the prices or reasons which will command the prices to a higher level in the coming days, I also have to tell you the other side of the story. So let's see what are the reasons that will try and put pressure on the prices of Kabuli chickpeas in coming days. Sowing in India and Mexico. As I told you, Mexican brothers, they closely follow us. We doubled the sowing this year. They also did the same. Without thinking that, unlike India, they don't have such a big domestic market where they can sell their own product. So they'll be at the mercy of importing nations or the buyer across the world to sell their product. India, on the contrary, have sound and strong domestic consumption, which will keep the prices on a tighter note. But still, we cannot neglect the fact that sowing in India and Mexico both is doubled. The entire pulses complex is under pressure, which will keep the prices on a check for Kabuli chickpeas as well, because most of the pulses they can be substituted. For instance, desi chickpeas prices looks very promising, and we'll keep a close check on the increase in the prices of Kabuli chickpeas. Mexican prices are coming down. Here again, Mexican brothers are closely following us. India dropped the prices first from $2,200 level, $2,000 levels to $1,500 levels, and immediately 10-15 days later, the Mexicans dropped their prices till $1,450 levels. So India again had to decrease their prices and came into $1,300, $1,350 levels. So again, I think the Mexicans will keep on putting pressure on the Indian prices, because they also have a very big crop. I understand that the Mexican production is around 275,000 tons. Sluggish sales to put pressure on prices. Definitely, we haven't seen very good demands. For instance, every year India would see forward sales of around 300 to 400 or maybe 500 containers before Gulf food, and another round of big sales come in during the Gulf food. But this year the sales have been sluggish. As I told you earlier that only 30,000 metric tons of Kabuli chickpeas have so far come into the market, but the prices are already going southwards. Again, another key market for Indian chickpeas, Algeria, will remain very slow. New regulation which came in, we'll talk about it later when I bring you words from my absent panelist, Mr. Albert Garcia. Okay. That's all from the presentation side, friends. We now move on to our panelists. Our first panelist, Mr. Jose Maria Lazara, is a lawyer by education and been in the pulses trade for last 40 years. He's a past president of Seals, the apex body of pulses industry in the world. And 3 times he's been the president of the Argentinian Chamber of Pulses. Mr. Lazara, can we have your comments on the Algerian market, the Argentinian market? Can we have the slide up, please?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Namaste. It's a bit strange for me coming from Argentina to talk about chickpeas in India. So it's like to ask an Indian friend to talk about football in Argentina. But anyhow, let's try our best to try to clarify what is the situation for Argentine chickpeas. Argentina had a very unusual and rapid evolution for chickpeas. If you pay a look at just a few years before, Argentina practically did not export anything, just a few tons, and our local consumption is always nil. But in just a few years, we came from nothing, or almost nothing, to almost 200,000 tons. So this means this quick and faster evolution is explained because of very good soil conditions, land conditions in our country. As you know, India is the 7th largest country in the world, and Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world. So we coincide and agree on a very extensive land for pulse production. In other pulses, we are also leaders in the international market like beans. But in chickpeas, we are learning a lot in the last few years. If you pay a look on the picture, you will see that only in 4 years, only in 4 seasons, or more precisely in 3 seasons, our export was increasing for almost 300%. This faster, quickly increase means that Argentina began to be part of the family of chickpeas exporters. I don't say that we are still not playing in the major leagues, but at least we are part of the family, and we have become to be within the biggest exporters of the world. According to the Argentine seeds, we still produce only a small and medium sizes, so 7 mm, 8 mm, and 9 mm. But of course, because this production was succeed in the last year and we have a room to grow, there are a lot of investment in new genetic and research in order to improve our seeds and improve sizes, and of course keeping the same good quality, which is internationally appreciated. One of the points we have in favor of the Argentine crop is the time for the crop, which is normally in the normal years when India and Mexico, which are the biggest players, are approaching end of the season. So we start our shipments in November. And then from November to February, usually the market is more or less optimist for buy chickpeas, and we have a room there that we used to occupy. Of course, if we increase our production and we increase our volume, it can be a logistic problem for us. Because, as you know the map, we are at the end of the world, and to ship 200,000 tons in 4 months is almost impossible. So we can ship, let's say, about 70% of our crop before arrival of the biggest Indian and Mexican crops. But the balance of that, okay, we will depend on the results and the prospects of these big two crops. And according to the information of Mr. Rajat and other information we have, with the big crops expected in India and Mexico, I feel that we will see the rest of the 2018 a bit difficult in terms of prices. Argentina already exported around 100,000, 120,000 tons, and what is left in Argentina is still unclear to give precise figures, but serious reports mention about 40 to 50,000 tons, which, as I said before, maybe could be difficult to get an order for that, at least at the prices we like to get it. But you know, wish is one thing in business. The most important point that I like to transmit here is that Argentina came to the chickpeas market not accidentally. Argentina came to stay. And not only came to stay, but came to grow. So it is not a matter of price on one season or another. It's a matter of project, a long-term project. So our idea and our forecast, our prediction is that in coming years we will see more production in Argentina, more competitive levels, probably bigger sizes than currently. And let's hope that in the next conclave in 2 years, we can confirm this prediction, and we also can confirm better prices than what is expected today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lazara. I'll come back with my questions to you later. I now invite my another panelist, Mr. Amar Savla. He's an MBA Finance, financial mastermind from US. Been in pulses trade since 1981, and he represents here his company First International Corporation, and which is an exporter of entire range of pulses from US. Mr. Amar, can we have the light on USA and Canadian crop as well as inputs from Mexico, please?
Good morning. So, following up with Argentina.
Yeah. Can you hold the mic a little closer?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so following up on the Argentina presentation, from the United States, we had about a 250,000 metric ton crop last year. And out of that, about 160,000 tons is large Kabuli chickpeas, and the balance 90 to 100,000 tons is small chickpeas. And if you actually divide between the growing regions, I mean, we have growing production in the northern plains in the Midwest, in North Dakota and Montana. The Pacific Northwest, which up to now has accounted for the premium branded qualities, I mean, basically there is its ability to grow production is limited, but in the Midwest and other areas, upcoming areas such as Nebraska, Kansas, etc., where we are seeing increased interest in seeding and increased interest in planting chickpeas, so we can expect certainly more acreages from there. So if you break it up, I mean, basically the larger Kabuli chickpeas, about 100,000 tons comes from the Pacific Northwest, about 60,000 tons comes from the Northern Plains, and same thing with the smaller chickpeas. I mean, I think I've shown figures of approximately 56,000 tons of large Kabuli chickpeas from the Midwest, and about 25,000, 30,000 tons of the smaller chickpeas. So comments-wise, we are seeing very good interest in seeding because of higher prices and almost a 3-year strong market in chickpeas. Farmers are definitely, and because of weaker returns on green peas and lentils, we are seeing acreages that are being supplanted from those crops into chickpeas. And we sort of have been seeing that trend on a worldwide basis for wherever the chickpeas are originating, that there seems to be more interest in planting chickpeas and perhaps less in other pulse crops. And so that's contributing to a significant growth in acreage and a significant growth in crops. Compared to last year, the 2018, we expect that basically US acreages will increase also quite significantly, mainly because of increased input from the Northern Plains. And we're seeing very strong demand for seed. Up to the end of December, we had almost like close to like exports were 115,000 tons up to the end of December. By the end of January, probably we're into 120,000, 25,000 tons. Your domestic end of December disappearance was about 100,000 tons. Your seed disappearance up to the end of December was 35,000, but keep in mind that between January and March, you're going to have quite a bit more seed disappearance. So if you look at all the factors, out of the United States, we are pretty much tapped out. There is really not much of good quality, et cetera, to sell between now and new crop. Balance that with the fact that there is increasing domestic production in the increasing domestic consumption in the United States. You have all of a sudden, you have these celebrity chefs and coming up with all these wonderful recipes that are incorporating chickpeas. You have this fad, this increasing trend towards health-related foods. And also, you have also the hummus market, which is, very strong. So when you compare all of that, I mean, you're talking about a very healthy domestic market as well. I see a fairly good support level on US chickpeas. Price-wise, I mean, basically where, new crop trades were done between, I would say, average $1,200 CIF, some above, some below. Some early trades have taken place, and obviously, we're not seeing the kind of robust demand because everybody's in a wait and see mode and not really wanting to contract out that far because of all the uncertainties. And India for us is, the way things stand now, we feel that it's a lost market for 2018. So the exports of US chickpeas will obviously have to be concentrated into other areas, whether it's Europe or the satellite markets of Pakistan, Sri Lanka, the Middle East. And Algeria, as Rajat said, is also takes chickpeas from us, but has become sort of a full stop at the moment until the regulations, et cetera, ease up because of in October 22 they instituted 120% CIF cash deposit in the bank before any import can take place. And so that's taken out a lot of the smaller importers who are importing 3 containers, 5 containers, et cetera, and probably will concentrate the trade in the hands of 3 or 4 large players. On a few comments on Mexico. Mexico's crop last year was about 130 to 140,000 tons. This year, conservatively, we think that it's going to be about 250,000 tons. So essentially, not quite, but it's close to double. Like in India, we haven't had really any unfavorable weather impacts in Mexico. So we believe that the yields over there are also quite reasonable. The crop is good, and Mexico new crop price is a good average. I mean, for 42, 44 would be 1,400. Some trades, very few trades have taken place above that delta. Some have taken place under that delta on a SIF basis. Mexico shipments. They're just starting to harvest, and so basically in the next 7 to 10 days, they should be in the swing. They should be harvesting pretty handily. So when you, should really start, there will be some shipments in March, but a lot of it will probably carry over into April. It just depends on how efficiently the logistics works. And so Mexico also, the quality from everything that we are seeing right now is that the quality is good. And as far as the United States, again, we're looking, because of increased seeding, et cetera, we are going to be seeing probably a crop maybe in excess of 300,000 tons. So all around, I mean, I think we're looking at some fairly good, healthy production numbers for chickpeas.
Thank you, Mr. Amar. I now move on to our next panelist, who has flown all the way from Turkey, my good friend, Mr. Kivanch Kolukisa, who happened to have done his engineering in a very peculiar branch. I've never heard that branch, bro. Mechatronics engineer. I don't know whether you actually did your engineering or not, or is it a fake degree that you're showing us here? Okay, he's representing Natural Gida. They are processors of lentils and chickpeas based out of Mersin in Turkey. And he's going to enlighten us on the Turkish market.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'll just give you some information about Turkey and the Turkish chickpea situation. Turkish chickpeas production is generally years to years 80,000 tons to 120,000 tons. And the production areas is mainly Anatolia and the southeast part of Turkey. From our production, we can say generally 55% to 60% is 8 millimeter and 20% is 9 millimeter. And also 15 to 20% is a 7 millimeter. According to the farmers, production cost is, we can say, around $800 levels, and also government is supplying, plus the market prices, it's approximately $80 per ton they are paying to the farmers. And also there is a rumor is talking about the government also wants to supply to the farmers, and they will increase the approximately $50 to $130 per ton. We can say that Turkey is importing approximately 30,000 tons, 7, 8, 9 millimeters from Argentina, Canada, US, Bulgaria, Europe, also Australia. And Turkey is buying extra 30,000 tons, is around 7, 8, 9 millimeters for transit business, for especially Middle East and North Africa. Moreover, what we are discussing about the big calibers, Turkey is importing around 25,000 tons. From these 25,000 tons, 15,000 tons is from Mexico, and approximately 10,000 tons from India, on just for import. Also, apart from the import business, of course, we got it again the transit and transit business. So we can say for the big calibers, it's around 15,000 ton more. Which is equally 10,000 from Mexico and 5,000 tons from India. Apart from these informations, we are also doing that approximately 40 to 60,000 tons Russian and Ukrainian small calibers, especially for transit business. Also WFP World Food Program tenders, we are using it. To sum up, when we want to assume that we can say about 100,000 tons Turkish chickpeas production, 60,000 ton is 7, 8, 9 millimeters Kabulis, and 40,000 tons is for big calibers like 40, 42, 42, 44, and 50,000 tons is the small calibers, 5, 6 millimeters. And we can say about that, Turkey has got a potential is around 250,000 tons chickpeas, according to the Turkish production. On the other hand, we are losing our transit business because lots of buyers, especially Middle East, started they are buying directly from the producers. And also Dubai started to get a position like Turkey, and they are buying big or small calibers, and they get a position in Dubai, and they want to sell from Dubai. More than this, Turkey is also exporting every year 25,000 tons Turkish chickpeas, especially mainly for Iraq, Pakistan, and Europe. And we can divide for three categories. One of them is canned business, and the other one is roasted chickpeas, and the third one is the regular commercial business. For when it comes to the 2018, seeding is started on December and it will continue to up to April. And we can also easily say that we are expecting that minimum 40%, maybe higher, seeding will increase this year. Of course, it depends on the market situation and weather conditions, and the average yield, of course. We can think about it, 140 to 170,000 tons can be possible if everything is continuing normally. And the expectation price for Turkish domestic market for 2018, it will be around what we are assuming that 3,500 lira means that today conditions currency is $920 per ton for 8 millimeter, we can say about it. Thank you.
You finished, bro? Thanks a lot. Just in time. I'm going to have a few questions for you guys. You cannot just walk away saying anything here, and the audience wants to know, the nation wants to know a few answers from you guys. First to Mr. Lazara. While importing chickpeas from Argentina, we have seen a wide variety of seed qualities come into India. What is the reason for that, and how can we be sure that we are going to receive a certain set of quality? Because I myself have imported approximately 7 or 8 times from Argentina, and every time I have come up with a different variety of seed. Is it the growing region difference, or there are like 4 or 5 different types of seed qualities which are sown by farmers?
No, it's not a matter of cleaning. The cleaning is a shortage, and usually it's well done. The quality is appreciated. What happened in Argentina, as I mentioned you before, that we are in an evolution process in the last few years, coming from 10,000 tons exporting to 200,000 tons. This means that the different kind of seeds was trying in different production areas to improve yield until we reach the correct and the right and final seeds. If you see what was shipped during this season, you will see that there is almost uniform type of seeds. There are only 2 types shipped, which are very similar, and of course well cleaned. So we expect from now on to fix specifically only this kind of seeds.
Also, there was a size problem this year in Argentina. You had very less 9 millimeter cargoes available to be exported, and a lot of the production that came out was 7, 8 millimeters, 8.5.
No, exactly. At the beginning of the season, we have 2 areas in Argentina. North area, which is about 30-40% of the production, and central area, which is Córdoba, which is the main important area, 60 to 70% of the production. At the beginning of the harvest, which is in the north, we appreciate a shortage of 9 mm and much more 7 mm than expected. But as far as the Córdoba, the main area, was harvesting, we realized that we have more 9 than expected. So I would say, cannot confirm this, but I would say that the carryover the current carryover in Argentina now is much more 9 than usual, because we didn't expect to have such 9, so the sellers prefer to sell 7 and 8, but now the 9 is there.
What do you see the farmers' interest with the decreased prices in the chickpeas? Do you think the farmers will be motivated to grow more chickpeas or less chickpeas, or the production will remain stagnant, or the sowing of chickpeas in Argentina will increase this year or not?
I'm afraid that the farmers will decrease the price, because the domestic consumption in Argentina, which is the other option, is only 3% of the total production. So for the farmers who still hold goods, they don't have too many options, either to sell according to the current market tendency or to hold it. And I suppose they will follow the market tendency, which is obviously is clear according to figures expressed by my colleagues.
Okay, Amar bhai, how do you see the production coming up this year in USA and Canada with the decreased in prices which is going to happen across the continent?
Personally, I don't really see any sort of decline in seeding. I actually see increase in seeding, and the result, as I mentioned before, it's basically the other crops, that are competing crops on peas and lentils, are really have not been giving good returns to the farmers, whereas the farmers actually have got very good returns on chickpeas for the last 2 to 3 years. And so a lot of them have been tempted to move acres into chickpeas. So yes, I mean, and as far as 2018 is concerned, I mean, looking at the seed disappearance and the demand for seed and, the price that seed is commanding and really, I mean, very, very good demand for seed. I just, I think that, basically the planting intentions are going to be quite significant.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Sarda. Apologies that we run way out of time. May I please request to please be seated for a moment? Thank you. May I please request Rakesh Shah, Executive Committee member of IPGA, to please step up on stage and present mementos to our panelists and our moderators, starting with